Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Camilita podcast. This is where you learn to live like a champion. On to this episode, I have got a lady that I think you need to listen to. Her name is Sherry Bonelli, and she is the owner of a digital marketing company called Early Bird Digital Marketing. And I really want to understand the logic behind that. It is an SEO digital marketing agency. She's had over 23 years, so she knows her stuff in digital marketing, serving clients across the US. She's a Google Business Profile Gold product expert. She'll explain what that is. And is a columnist for leading marketing websites like Search Engine Journal, SEM Rush, and so many others. She's a recognized presenter and speaker at digital learning marketing conferences, one in which I found her actually, Traffic and Conversion Summit. So I know it's something that is high end and it's something that people really pay attention to. She holds a master's degree in internet marketing. She's also a LinkedIn learning instructor. And I want to ask her a bit about that as well. And the host of the Marketing Plan podcast. Let's welcome to the Camilita podcast, the wonderful Sherry Bonelli.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Sherry, a woman in SEO? Come on. The majority of the time I'm going to interview people that are talking about SEO or SEO marketing, or that is usually guys. How, where, why, how did you get involved in all of this?
You know, it's so funny that people say that. And I've never really thought of it like that before. I mean, I've been doing search engine optimization, content marketing, specializing in those areas since 1998. When my son was born, and I launched an e-commerce website selling pregnancy and baby related products. That's how I got started in this world of digital marketing. And so I've never really thought that it was a male dominated world until people started saying it's a male dominated industry. And so I've just kind of thought about it as I'm just part of the industry. But then more and more people kept saying, you know, I would speak at conferences like, you know, Traffic and Conversion Summit, and people would come up to me and say, that was the best presentation ever. I got so much valuable information. We need more women speakers. And I'd be like, oh, and then I'd look at the agenda and I'd be like, really, there's not a lot of speakers that are women here. And so it really did start to click with me that we are kind of in the minority.
Well, why did you get into that? Was it because you wanted additional revenue? Was it because you just felt the need to do this because your son was born? Why did you get into that industry then?
Yeah, I can explain that. So I have always been interested in starting my own business. I shouldn't say always, but it became an idea that was planted in my head when after I had my son, I decided to invent a breastfeeding product. And so I went through the whole product development process, created packaging, found a vendor to create it, and even kind of went through the patent process by myself without an attorney, went through all of that and learned very valuable lessons. Lessons being, you're not going to make a lot of money selling a $6.99 product, and very few stores are going to carry a $6.99 product. Okay. And so I learned lessons from that.
Wow.
So the lesson I learned was, you need to also carry other people's products as well on your e-commerce web store. And so that's what got me going. And so I read a book called Multiple Streams of Income, and I can't remember who the author is, but that book was probably the best book for me to read. It's probably long out of print by now, but it basically talked about how, as a business owner, you have to have multiple streams, whether it's an affiliate program bringing in money, or you have an e-commerce site bringing in money. You had to have multiple streams coming in, because if one of those streams dried up, you're in trouble. And so I set up an e-commerce website actually 3 of them, which back then it was okay to do that. And so I had 3 different websites. They all had different spins. So one was focused primarily on breastfeeding products. The other one was focused primarily on pregnancy products. And then the other one, Mommy's Thinking, was basically all of them. But they all essentially sold all of the products, but they all had a little bit different emphasis on the products that were related to the domain names.
So was it,
and
was
I had
it a
really,
means to
really
an
good
end?
domain name.
Was it a
I'm
means
sorry?
to an, was it a means to an end, or was it that something that you actually love to do? Was it that you wanted more time with your son, or was it that you're like, you know what, I could do this as a business, I've had enough of whatever? What was the drive behind it?
Yeah, no, I didn't want more time with my son because my son cried all the time. He cried 24/7. No, I didn't not want more time with my son. That sounds awful, but no, it just kind of ignited something in me. And so I had talked with my husband at the time and said, I really think we should invent this product. And then when we realized that we were having a hard time selling it in because of the low price point, you have to mark it down 50%. We weren't going to make money. So I thought, okay, let me look for other mom or parents invented products that you can't find at Walmart, you can't find at Target, and sell those products as well. And so that's what I did. I hunted for products that were parent invented, and that was my niche. Wow. And so I found those products and started selling them from my web store, and we were amazingly successful.
Wow.
And I knew that I needed to learn how to rank high, and Google was in beta back then. So it was Lycos and Alta Vista and Excite. Those types of search engines were out then. And so learning search engine optimization became a game for me. It's like, how do I rank? How do I rank? How do I rank? How do I rank? And so that's where my passion was. I needed to learn how to write the content of the description of the product, not just copy and paste it from the manufacturer, but really tailor it to my customers. And so that's where my interest got started.
So moving forward to today, how has that changed? Because I could just only imagine SEO has changed over the years. The way people buy, the tags change, and title tags and sort of everything else changes. What are some of the changes that you've seen recently that you probably thought there was no way that would have worked back then?
With regard to changes that happened today that wouldn't work back then. Oh my gosh, there's so many. So back then, it was okay, for instance, to add keywords to your website and change the text to white, and it was perfectly okay, and it would help your website rank higher. Now you could not get away with that.
Wow.
So keyword stuffing, a whole page, just keywords, would help you rank high.
My God.
Now you can't do that. And so the industry has totally changed. And a lot of that is because Google and their artificial intelligence, they've really learned to understand what the text on the page and the content of the page is supposed to be about. And they focus less on the actual keywords themselves, but focus on the intent of what the content is about.
My God. So coupled now with the fact that social media has taken over so much, how has that changed even more of what you do and how you do what you do?
Yeah, so social media is not my area of expertise. I can make social media posts and that type of stuff, but my main area of expertise is obviously search engine optimization, content marketing, reputation marketing, retargeting, those types of areas. I haven't gotten into paid advertising on social media, but I can do posts and stuff like that. But even on posts and Facebook, for instance, Instagram particularly, search engine optimization is really, really important because people are searching, and keywords and hashtags, those have to be researched, and you need to put all that information in whatever you're posting. And so SEO plays a really important role in anything you do online these days.
All right. So somebody has a website that they've just, okay, let me back up. I want to ask something else. You have all these people that have this cookie cutter websites, okay? So you got the Wix and the this and the that one. And then you've got the ones that are building their own sites, and they're having to to do all the SEO to get the ranking because they're new. What is the major difference between those two? What do you say to customers when they say to you, "Oh, I've just sorted out a Wix website," and obviously they got all the SEO that would help them with the company, but I've just started my own website and I want to grow. What would you say to that client that's listening to this and thinking, well, why should I have to pay this person to set up a whole site and then pay you again to do SEO when I can just do this? What would you say to them?
Yeah, so I will tell you that in a lot of cases, so the way the process typically would work is you would have a designer who would look at the aesthetics of the website and figure out which theme templates should go and be put on whatever page. So obviously the contact us page is going to have a different design than the home page. And so someone with a design background should be looking for those types of things so they can make the site look pretty. And then you also need someone who has a coding background or who has a more technical background to figure out the functionality. How does the form work? What type of fields should be there? Is there anything that we need that can streamline the process? For instance, can it use CSS cascading style sheets so that all of the text is the same on every single page so you don't have to manually change the text on every single page? The missing piece usually in all of this is the SEO person. And so typically developers don't know much about search engine optimization, and typically designers don't know much about SEO. And so the big mistake I see lots of people making is they launch a website and then forget about SEO when they realize my site's not showing up. When people search for, this and this keyword, I'm not showing up anywhere, even local businesses. And so ideally what businesses should do if they're launching a new site is get an expert search engine optimization professional in there during the development of the site so that we can tell you the URL should be this, because that's going to help you, because we're getting the keywords in the right spot and we're formatting them correctly. And we're adding alt tags to images because Google can't see images.
Why is it that people, when they're building websites, they don't say that? Is it thinking, well, the person can't afford it? Or is it thinking they don't know who should do it? Or they just simply don't know? Because there are so many, I work with businesses that are small businesses, people whose business has done 130 million. Across the board, that are my clients. And yet, very few people would say to them, they would come to me and be like, I'm building a website and I've got this person building a website. And I'm like, okay. And I'm not getting any rankings with website. And I'm like, okay, well, did you even consider somebody SEO or working with a whole team who understand what they're doing? They'd be like, well, no, I'm just building a site and that's it. Why is it then that a lot of people that are building websites are not partnering with people like yourselves to ensure that the client has the best end result?
I think it is a combination of two different things. I think it's a combination of people don't think about it and know the importance of it. And second of all, I think it's cost. And I'll explain to you that if you find someone who will tell you that they can do search engine optimization for a really low rate, like $100 a month, they're not doing anything for you, because search engine optimization is expensive. And so a lot of local businesses or small businesses are afraid of spending that money. But what I always say is, okay, look where you're at right now. You're not showing up at all. So if we can help you get closer to the first page or even on the first page, how much more revenue are you going to bring in? How many more clicks to your site are you going to get? Is that worth it? The answer is yes. And so that investment will pay off. It may take a couple months for Google to index those pages and get the right pages showing up. But if you do nothing, there's no point in even having that website.
Okay, I'm going to ask another question then. Because I understand this. I understand this for myself, but I'm really wanting you to hone this into, really hone it into people that are going to be listening to this over and over again, why they need to do it. There are some people who will say, well, if you post on Google and you do Google My Business and you do all those other things and you do YouTube and you post on social media, your website or the product brand or service will come up on top because they have good SEO anyway. What would you say to those people that are saying that?
So first of all, I will tell people, don't be on every platform. If you're not going to do every platform consistently and very well, don't do every platform. You should only do the platforms that you're committed to, that you know very well, and that you're going to continue on a consistent basis to post and to optimize. So if you aren't going to post Instagram photos like every day, don't even sign up for Instagram, or don't even link to Instagram on your website, because there's no point. Okay. What you should do is start with the social media channels where you're most likely going to find your clients. And so on a B2B type website, LinkedIn might be the appropriate channel for you to link to. So don't feel like you have to have all those little social media icons at the bottom of your page just because everybody else does. Don't do that, because if you don't do every one of them well, there's no point in having them. And so that's step number one. And step number two is, those are all great ways to like raise awareness for your company. But they will always go back to your website to find out more information. Very rarely is an Instagram post going to make a sale for you. Very rarely is a Facebook post or a Facebook ad going to make the final sale for a long term.
See right there? I want you to repeat that, because that there is gold. Gold, I'm telling you right there, that's gold. Because so many people lie and say, oh, just get your Instagram up and you'll make money. And obviously, Instagram have the Instagram shop, Facebook with the Facebook shop, so you can go there and buy. But when you've got a service-based business, that doesn't work for you.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Now, you can use Instagram for service area businesses to raise awareness, and that's perfect. And so, for instance, I interviewed Jason Portnoy for my new podcast called the Marketing Plan Podcast. And he gave a great example of how his client, who is a plumber, is giving tips on video to Instagram on how to solve everyday plumbing problems. And what that is doing is, these are great tips, things that people should know, but they're things that he doesn't want to come out and service. And so people are going to be aware that this plumber is good and helpful. So when they do need a plumber, who do you think they're going to call?
Exactly. But again, they're not going to physically go there, because again, they want to go to the website. They want to get a sort of human contact. They want to speak to someone, possibly, to be able to close that sale.
And they need to learn more information about the business. Yep.
Yeah, that whole thing about that, it raises awareness, but people will come back to your site. They will come back to the home, as it were, of you. This is your little shop, in the world. They'll come back to you. Now, I want to ask another question about that, because I know so many people will say SEO is expensive. Give me a ballpark figure from this to this. What should people be looking at in order to have some sort of success? We're not talking about revenue, because revenue is relative depending on you having the right people that are going to close the sale. You're making sure that you follow up correctly. I mean, all of that side is good, yes, or the whole sales process is tight. But in terms of the actual cost for people, what are we looking at, and what are they looking at in terms of people coming to their site?
Yeah. So I would say, as far as like hiring a professional search engine optimization expert that actually knows what they're doing and is actually going to impact and make changes on the site for the good, it's going to be over $1,000 a month.
And that's
on
cheap.
Up.
1,000 plus, that's cheap. Yeah. I've been quoted from people that I know, $5,000 a month minimum.
I'm sorry.
5,000 a month minimum. I've been quoted for people that I know me and I know them. 5,000 a month. So I mean, that is in the ballpark.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is that's usually at least the starting range. It can go up from there. And a lot of it depends on how big the site is, We typically run like an audit to find out how many issues that site has from a technical standpoint, from, a title tag standpoint, from a content standpoint. So depending on how much work the site needs, that can definitely impact the price.
What are people looking at in terms of seeing some sort of result, seeing some sort of return? Are they looking at a month? And what do they do after you've done all this work to get it done right? What they're looking at in terms of a time to see some results, and also what sort of results that they should be looking for?
Right. And so it depends. So if you're talking about a local business and we're getting local businesses listed on Google Business Profiles, that's the new name for Google My Business.
Really?
Yeah, they changed it on us. So if we're going to get them listed on Google Business Profiles and on the citation sites or online business directories like Merchant Circle or yellowpages.com or those types of sites, that is probably one of the fastest ways for local businesses to get high rankings is by claiming those and optimizing those. So that's part of my local SEO package is boom, let's get them on that first and start. That's a quick way to do it. And then as far as the organic information goes and getting them ranked organically, that can take a couple of months. It can take less than that. It just all depends. But I have seen, as far as adding pages to like my mechanics website, for instance, we added a new page, linked to it from a current page related to that topic, and we saw a spike the following month. So it really just depends. And I think a lot of business owners get hung up on, we have to do blog posts. No, you don't. You can just add more pages to your site. And they don't have to be linked from the main navigation. They can just be linked to from other pages within the site. Google loves to see interlinking between pages on a website too.
So if you're working then with okay, so that's for the small business, because I'm thinking of a client or clients that I have. If you are working with someone that has like a chain of shops or also how do you, because obviously they've got, even though it's one website, but they may have multiple parts of that. How do you work with that so that it's all interlinked, so that whoever is answering the call, wherever they are in the country or the world, it is exactly the same result that everybody's going to get?
So you're talking about like maybe a franchise?
Sort of like a licensed sort of franchised, but of a small setup. They may have 3, maybe 4 licensee or franchisee.
So then what we'd probably do is create individual pages for the location where the franchisee is located. And maybe we create more than one page that talks about where they're located and the city, the state, the country, or whatever it might be, and then optimize those pages for that location. And so that will help them with regard to local search engine optimization within their big franchise.
But if it's an international brand, so on the flip side of that, if it's an international brand and they have got different branches, but they have a sort of one main hub, how would you work that sort of setup?
Yeah. So as far as national and international SEO, that definitely takes longer. I will tell you that that's a longer process because you're not just competing with maybe 20 local competitors. You're competing with maybe thousands and thousands of competitors. And so that does take longer and it's much harder to get them to break through.
Yes.
What you need to do then is look at their competitors, look at their top competitors and figure out what are they doing that is getting them to rank higher. You kind of have to put on your detective hat and try and figure out what's working for them and how can I either duplicate that or do that better than they're doing it.
I love what you said there, to look at your competitors, because sometimes, I mean, we all know there's nothing new under the sun, and someone may be doing something else that is working for them. It may not necessarily work for you, but at least it's working. So at least you got somewhere to start. I love the fact that you talked about competitors, because some people think, well, I don't want to look at my competitors because I want to do something different. But if they're doing something that's actually working, should we not look and see what is actually working?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You should look at what's working. And there are a lot of tools out there that will actually talk about the competitors, and you can see where they're ranking, and you can also see keyword overlap, like which keywords you share together. And there's lots of tools that can help you with that.
Wow. I mean, I could imagine the joy you get from seeing this is where the business is at, and this is where they are now after they've gone through that whole process with you. Tell me, I'm going to ask two more questions before we close off. What are some of the challenges that you face working with companies that don't want to change? They know they've got to change because this is going to work, and it works. What are some of the challenges that you face, and how do you overcome that for the small or medium-sized enterprise or the larger organization that says, well, this used to work and this always worked, and now you're telling us I need to do this, and suppose it's going to take a long time. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, sometimes it can be really challenging, especially when you're working with a small business. And so I'm kind of not shying away from really small businesses, but I've kind of learned to expect that most small businesses just aren't going to pay the fees that I charge, and it's all based on experience. And I kind of explain it this way. You're a roofer, and you've been working on roofs for 23 years versus the guy down the street that just got started a year ago. Yeah. You're going to charge more for your experience because you know that industry, you know exactly what to do, right? Yes. You're charging because you have an experienced team and you know what you're doing. The guy down the street only has a year's experience in the roofing industry. You charge a premium for that. I'm the same way. Yeah, you can hire someone, a kid in a basement who just picked up some SEO strategies that he read online, and you may be able to get good results, or you may have a hole in your roof the next morning after he installed that roof. Which would you rather have? And so you kind of have to talk to them about the benefits of having a professional that knows what they're doing. Yeah. And that's how you differentiate yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Agreed. 100%. And people need to understand that. I need to learn that. And when we've all been through where we tried to do it the other way around and it didn't work. And so now we've learned what not to do. So you are also a LinkedIn learning instructor. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, that was quite the process. Yeah. So I think it was last fall, LinkedIn approached me about doing an introduction to local SEO course. And it was a lot of fun. I had always wanted to create a course. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to learn how to create a course, going through this process is going to be a way for me to learn exactly how to do it correctly. And I used to be in the publishing industry. And ironically, the people that I was working with, some of them actually worked with me in the publishing industry. So it was kind of odd. And the process is very similar to publishing a book. And it was a great process. I had to come up with an outline, table of contents, essentially, write the script for the exercise or the training, and then record it and everything. And so it was so much fun to do. It was a little stressful, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think the biggest thing was, I talked to the person that was in charge of the curriculum and making sure that it was structured properly. Yeah. I told her, I don't know if I'm going to be able to record this all in one take. I don't think I can do it. And she's like, oh, Sherry, don't worry about that. All you have to do is when you're recording, just say the word rephrase and then repeat that sentence over again. I said, really? I can do that?
Amazing.
And she said, yeah. She said, that's going to be your new favorite word. And I'm like, yes. And so that was an amazing load lifted off my shoulder that I didn't have to get it perfect, for 3 or 5 minutes at a time.
So how is that helping your brand though? Are people coming to you now because you're the expert?
Yeah. So actually, I get a lot of leads from my writing in Search Engine Journal and Adweek. And, I write for Rio SEO, and other sites will ask me to write for them as well. So I get a lot of leads from that because in reading my blog posts and articles, potential customers know that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I get leads from people that have listened to past webinars that I've given, so I get a lot of leads that way. And then obviously the LinkedIn Learning Instructor, that helps as well.
Oh, wow.
That's how you build credibility within the industry.
Indeed. So, okay, one last question.
Sure.
The world has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody didn't want to get online. I know everybody online. Everybody didn't want to pay attention to the fact that they needed support and they needed help and they needed SEO and they need all of this. How has things changed for you? Are people more heightened to reach out to you? Are people more asking you questions? How has it changed, positively impacted you?
Yeah, so I think it positively impacted me in the fact that more people are definitely asking questions, which is good. I mean, it's definitely good that more people are asking questions. My phone has been ringing more, I think, for people that are trying to get free answers to questions, which is fine. I'm okay. I'm definitely okay because I like helping people. But what I do in those instances is if someone calls me and asks me a question about Google business profiles, for instance,
and
I help them, I spend a half an hour on the phone with them, I ask for a review from them.
Absolutely.
And so then I at least get something in return.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm going to write that down as part of what we're talking about with you.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. This is so good because at least even if you're giving something for free, at least get something that someone else could read and that person will buy.
And that's valuable. Reviews are valuable, especially when they say Sherry was very helpful, answered all my questions. She's very knowledgeable about this subject, definitely, worth hiring type of thing. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. So one last question. I keep saying one last question, but I promise it's one last question. How long should somebody be working with you though to perfect their website? Because some people might say, oh, I just want to do this for a couple of months. I don't think I need more. But what is the time frame would you say that they need to be minimum to get results?
Yeah, we ask for a minimum commitment of 6 months because we feel that is the least amount of time that a client should give us in order to see the improvements happening. But I will say the retention rate with my clients is very, very high. Once they start with me, they stick with me because they see the results changing and it's usually for the better.
And that's what we want. That's what we want as customers, clients. That's what we want.
Yep, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, I love it. I can hear your heart in this. I understand why I can hear your heart. I can really hear your heart. My last question is, how can people reach you? They're listening to you. They're like, Sherry, I don't know what I don't know, and I really could do with some help. How do I get in touch with you? Am I going to speak to you? Am I going to speak to your staff? I'm going to speak to a bot?
No, the best way to reach me is go to earlybirddigitalmarketing.com. And then the other way to reach me typically is by just giving me a call. Is it okay to give my phone number?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, 319-409-3287. And that's in the United States. I'm in lovely Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is not the mecca of technology, but it's where I'm at. And so it's usually best to reach out to me via phone because my inbox gets inundated with newsletters and updates and all that stuff. So it's best to reach out to me via phone.
Oh, well, listen, thank you so much for your time today, Sherry. I've learned a lot and I'm looking forward to sharing this and letting people know that they can reach out to you because look, we're here to support one another. We're all going to die.
Absolutely.
We might as well help one another while we're here.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you having me. This has been so much fun.
It is my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. Well, guys, you heard it here first from Sherry Bonelli. I love her last name. Didn't ask her about that. And I love what she talked about with regard to SEO and why it is important that you don't just try and do stuff on your own or try and go to people who don't know what they don't know and not sort of learn bits here and there and expect it to work. Go to the experts. One thing I learned in the past, pay experts well. Content marketing is crucially important, but make sure that your e-commerce website or your website as a whole is SEO properly so people can find you. You're not in business to just have a glorified website. You need to be making money. You know my mantra, if it's not making money, it's not making sense. So make sure that your SEO is working, the website is actually working, you are converting, you are making money. Go now to earlybirddigitalmarketing.com. At least reach out to her and say, look, you know what, Sherry, I really need help. I don't know what I don't know. I need to do something and I need to move, because that investment, if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner is a bit different. If you're an entrepreneur, that is an investment. You will make it back if you apply what she says. Phone her, 319-409-3287. And we are going to put it in the chat so everybody can get it. But make a decision and take action. This is your moment to live your champion life. Don't let 2022 start or the beginning of 2022 finish and you haven't done this. Get it done or get help. Reach out to her today. This is Camilita here from the Camilita podcast saying I'll see you soon. And you know I will see you at the top.